Hi guys, welcome to Living Views channel. Here, we explore the hidden treasures in our everyday lives in a bit to make sense out of it and make the best out of the very life that we have. We aim to speak to seasoned professionals to guide us on this very same path. And today we have none other than Mr. Kwamina Ekremet to have a discussion on the times we are in and how to find some clarity. Kwamina, I guess now we have to do.
You're welcome, Carl.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and thank you for having the time to meet with us.
You're welcome.
Basically, we find ourselves in such times that are very uncertain, and I wonder what is happening. But before we get there, I would like to know who is Kwamina.
Thank you for coming and for granting me the opportunity to have this interaction with you. So, Kwamina is a performance improvement professional who has varied experience across many industries. So, from food industry to academia to NGO to religious organization, having worked in the oil industry before, and currently as a business consultant with Ernst Young. So, this is basically our Kwamina.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. There's a vast wealth of experience that we can tap from. So let's pick from your influences. I see that you are interested in performance improvement. Why performance improvement?
So in a system that we find ourselves, like our country, right, there are a lot of waste. There's a lot of inefficiencies in how we go about our processes. So when able to perfect the process, when able to increase the efficiency of a system, we tend to reduce waste and then increase productivity, which leads to profit making. At the same time, the sustainability of the business. Because waste, we have about 7 different types of waste. If you look at the individual waste that I talk about, you see that all of them contribute to bringing the productivity of a business down. So if you're able to eliminate all these waste from your operations or your system, you improve efficiency, which leads to profitability, and eventually the sustainability of the business that you're running. And at the end of the day, you make your stakeholders happy. So if it's a government organization, you make the people of Ghana happy. If it's a private business, you make your stakeholders happy. So that's why performance improvement is very critical for the success of every business operation.
Right. So let's bring performance improvement to a different context. Now I'm thinking about the youth. What are we not getting right? I see that there's a lot of youth in our country. I mean, the youth form the majority of the population, but we realize that a lot of them aren't able to harness their skills to the betterment of themselves and then the society as a whole. What are we missing?
I think we've not created an environment which gives a lot of opportunities to our youth. So fine, some youth have educated themselves, but have they educated themselves in relevant fields that Ghana needs at the moment? So fine, we are still doing some courses that are not so relevant to a developing country. For every developing country, the focus should be more on technical skills development. So if you're going to do more courses that are not really relevant to national development, people will tend not to have jobs to do. At the same time, the national leaders would have to also create the ambience, the environment, where the young people will be able to apply their skills and then what they've learned to good use.
Right.
It's only through that they will build their confidence and be able to be creative enough to solve the everyday problem.
Okay, so we are at this point where someone has gone to school, probably hasn't gotten that technical skills, technical qualification. However, he's in the world of work now. He probably is even unemployed. Today we hear COVID, tomorrow we hear Black Lives Matter. To the average Ghanaian, what steps should he take to ensure that he's placing himself in a better position for a better future?
Alright, so for me, when it comes to the young people, I would recommend the 3 E's, right? So I look at education, which most of our youth are getting. I look at the experience, which most of them don't have. And I look at the exposure, which some don't also have. So for experience, if the person is working, the person should be able to define where they see themselves in the coming years. and they'll be able to pick the relevant experience at the workplace. Because believe you me, every job has some opportunities for development. So for instance, maybe you finish as an engineer, but currently you're in a role that is not fully engineering. But can you build your soft skills like leadership, like organization, communication, presentation skills? Because eventually you tend to use those skills, even if you find yourself eventually in an engineering field or engineering role. So it has to do with picking relevant experience, and not just experience, but relevant and reflected experience, so that when you go through them, you're able to reflect about them and ask yourself, am I improving? The other bit has to do with exposure. Exposure comes from what you are given and what you expose. I mean, what is given to you and what you give to yourself. So, for instance, if we're talking about opportunity to maybe build your communication skills, can you join Toastmasters? Can you join your church or any organization that you belong to and be able to expose yourself to communication skills? So, after getting the education, getting the relevant experience and exposure, it makes you solid. It gives you the confidence that you need to make you a better young man and a better young woman who will be relevant to the country you find yourself in.
So, education, experience, and exposure. Excellent. Now, with these thoughts, let's just say we have someone who is trying on all these fronts. He's employed, and today, because of COVID, his business has slowed down to that point where he's probably getting maybe 10% of his salary. What then do we do?
You mean for the individual?
Yes.
Okay, so for the individual, I'll say this is the best opportunity to add value to yourself. And when I talk about adding value to yourself, it's about gaining knowledge. So that when everything returns to normal, you can apply the knowledge and now get wisdom. So if it's about knowledge acquisition, now there are a lot of courses, free courses on Coursera, EDX, all these MOOCs are running courses that you can actually benefit from. So this is the time for you to educate yourself and get all the knowledge, so that when it's time for you to apply them at the workplace, you'll be able to apply all of them and then get relevant experience hands-on that you can use to better the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much for your thoughts. Now, I'm thinking, you mentioned normal, but I feel like now we have what we'll call the new normal. Things have changed.
Yeah.
Businesses have realized we could actually have our staff working from home. People are able to take online courses and finish their degrees online. Things that we thought were not very possible are becoming possible now. I'm just picking your thoughts. What do you see the future post-COVID around the globe?
Around the globe, flexible working is going to be the new norm. So find some the western part of the world, we've been practicing this for over 20 years now.
Yeah.
It's fine with them. But recently Twitter said that going forward, they are not going to force their workers to work from offices. They are going to allow them to work from home. The same thing is going to happen in Ghana, where some of the big organizations, for instance, the company that I work with, they are willing to let us work from home. Looks like it's the end of the year. Going forward, there will be the introduction of hot desking, where organizations will not really have big offices or big offices, but they run very small offices. And if you are going to the office, you have to really book for a seat at the office, so that would be a lot of savings to the employer, and at the same time also benefit the employee. Because look at the stress of staying in traffic and going to work in Accra. Most you have to wake up before 6 o'clock and start your trek. But if all these can be done so that we reduce the amount of time we spend in traffic, it will improve a lot of people in terms of their health, in terms of their total well-being, because people will spend more time with people they love and spend more time thinking through issues that will benefit the masses. So for instance, when it comes to all these things, staying in traffic and all that, they are non-value added activities.
True.
So if you're able to eliminate all these wastages, time wastages, they are building efficiency in how you run your country. And in so doing, people get total life, right? And the well-being of people improve. It leads to healthy living. It leads to fulfilled people, and people are happy. So going forward, that is how our world is going to be more flexible, more efficient.
Great thoughts. I was just about to give you the very last question. It almost seems like you've ended the conversation with that powerful statement. But if you had one last word to tell someone who probably thinks it's all over for me, this is all I knew and it's gone from my hand, or the world is no longer making sense to anyone, what words would you tell them?
So for me, it's all about investing in yourself, investing in yourself, investing in yourself, because that's the best dividend. That is the best return on investment. So use opportunity to really invest in yourself, because the next decade and the next century is going to be for those who can disrupt themselves.
Yes.
COVID has disrupted our world, but you yourself have to take the initiative to disrupt yourself first before the world disrupts you. So going forward, we need people who can disrupt themselves, people who can adapt easily to challenges, people who can change jobs easily, because some of the jobs are going to be obsolete.
Yeah.
So somebody did engineering, petroleum engineering, that might not be relevant again because maybe you'll be using robots to do certain things that you're going to do. Can you build your acumen to be a teacher so that you can actually impart knowledge to young people? So let's be open-minded, let's be flexible, let's educate ourselves, let's connect. Let's use proprietary stuff that we already have, like the LinkedIn's and all of that, to connect and to get to know people better at that level, so that when there are opportunities, it will be the first that comes to mind to invest such opportunities. So it's about investing in yourself. Yeah.
So there you have it. Such great thoughts from the enterprising Kwamina Ekremet. Thank you so much for meeting us once again, and thank you for watching. We'll come your way next time with more thoughts on living views. See you.